Today, we are counting down to what may be a unprecedented debate and just a few more pylons coming right up. Welcome to Black Spring with Autumn on your Wednesday. Thursday it is. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Thank you so much for tuning in to this segment. Hope you guys are well, and I hope you are well prepared and well rested for this evening. Shout out to the loyal patrons, Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Chrysler Imperial H, Let the Truth Be Told, Cold War Jesus, Little Miss Goth, and AZ Infidel. Thank you guys so much for all that you do to support the channel. Now, I also want to give a warm shout out to the loyal subscribers as well as the followers on Patreon and also to new subscribers. So thank you guys so much for all that you do, because once again, you have choices in this realm of or on this platform or in platforms across the whole spectrum. You have many choices. So thank you for choosing Black Spring with Autumn on your Thursday. And as the opening statement, just a brief one, not going to take too much of your time on this bit of a flash. But as we count down to this evening's debate, I mean, what matters most? What matters most to you? Are you actually planning on watching the debate? And what issues matter to you the most? And of course, we've had pundits, of course, that have been talking about this election for several months, even years, anticipating this election. Actually, they were anticipating that maybe this election, these candidates maybe wouldn't even be on the ticket. But because we are, I am reminded of a bit of a piece from Tucker Carlson, which stands out the most because to me, he gave a bit of a foreshadowing or a bit of a warning on what was important to squelch a bit of the bias against the president. And as of today, I can't quite say that that threat or that subversion has been quite squelched. So we'll take a look at that. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And we will take the assertion from Tucker Carlson. Thanks so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn.
Presidential election very well may. A Google whistleblower has come forward to describe his company's plans to remake the American political landscape. Google, of course, the most powerful company in the world. So when an anonymous whistleblower comes forward, in this case telling Project Veritas that Google is using internal algorithms to shape what Americans see online, and by extension what they think, you better take it seriously.
Fairness is a dog whistle. It does not mean what you think that it means, and you have to apply double think in order to understand what they're really saying. And what they're really saying about fairness is that they have to manipulate their search results so that it gives them the political agenda that they want. And so they have to rebias their algorithms so that they can get their agenda across.
That's the definition of propaganda, again, being perpetuated by the single most powerful company in the history of the world. This is not surprising to viewers of this show. James Doran was fired for Google for his political views, his totally conventional, moderate political views, and then came on this show to describe the culture at Google. Watch this.
There are definitely some political biases within Google that I was trying to shed light on in the document, and that they affect many parts of the business, and, for example, who they do business with and what type of content they create. And I really think that those political biases need to be addressed.
It's not just whistleblowers, though. Excuse me. Hidden camera footage obtained by Project Veritas shows a conversation with a woman called Jen Janai. Her Google title is Head of Responsible Innovations in the Global Affairs Department. In that video, Janai says that Google is working specifically on products to make certain that Donald Trump does not win another election. Quote, we're also training our algorithms, like if 2016 happened again, would the outcome be different? People were not putting that line in the sand, that they were not saying that what's fair and what's equitable. So we're like, well, we're a big company. We're going to say it. In other words, we're going to try and affect the outcome of the 2020 presidential campaign. Janai goes on to blast Elizabeth Warren's proposal to break Google up into two companies. Why? Check out this reasoning. Quote, all these smaller companies who don't have the same resources that we do will be charged with preventing the next Trump situation. It's like a small company cannot do that. Huh. So using a company's dominance on the internet to sway the outcome of an election, that's their plan. There should be a term for what Janai is describing. Turns out there is a term. It's a term you've heard constantly from talking heads on television for more than 2 years. It's called hacking an election. Google wants to hack our election. They're saying that out loud. As we've been told over and over again by CNN and the Washington Post and the New York Times and all the other propagandists, hacking an election is very bad. At minimum, it warrants a multi-year investigation by law enforcement agencies. And yet, it's happening now. The Washington establishment has said they want to prevent election interference, but of course that's a lie. They just want to make sure they control the elections. That's their only goal. That's why they're not attacking the real source of election interference, which is Silicon Valley. Google, Facebook, and their ilk have far more political power than Russia ever has or ever will have. No serious person doubts that. But the people in charge of our country don't care about any of that because when Google meddles in an election, Democrats benefit. By the way, if you want to find that video, you can't access it on YouTube. Google took it down. That's not surprising.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So that particular soundbite or the imagery that you were just seeing was actually done last year. And so there's been an all-out, a bit of a, if you want to call it an assault, or there's been efforts happening beyond a year's time to pull down these sources, whether they were verified or, excuse me, they must be verified by the fact checkers of the technocracy, have to verify your sources as to whether how true or how credible the source is. So yes, I would say yes, Tucker Carlson, we've all experienced much of what you are describing. So that's verifiable. So yes, so there you had a bit of a warning or a foreshadowing on what the election season could bring, or the landmines of veracity that would keep those from reporting or even just sharing perspectives on the truth. So shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to Theology Forums. Shout out to Killer Whale Channels. Thanks so much. It's nice to see you as well. Thank you so much for being here. This is only going to be a short segment we're going to do. Shout out to Anthony Scioli, and we're going to move really quickly into the next. So we're going to follow that up with a lead story that we have from our friends at the JBS. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn, and shout out to Auctions for You. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to take you to another story from our friends at the JBS. And of course, tonight we're heading into a highly anticipated debate. I think it's going to be it's highly anticipated for many reasons. But here again, I pose the question to you guys: what matters most? And what you see before you is coming from our friends at the JBS, and we'll give you their take on what matters most. But so I'll just give you really quickly here. This segment of our show is brought to you by our friends at the JBS, the John Birch Society, Less Government, More Responsibility, and with God's help, a better world. The JBS is a constitutional and educational organization that's been around for over 60 years, dedicated to upholding and defending the Constitution and working to preserve our freedoms and liberties in this country. The JBS does not endorse any political party or candidates. Rather, it focuses on the education, training, and development of the American voters. So we will be taking that lead from the New American on tonight's debate and the topics that won't be addressed. And, you decide, here, that's certainly you would be the operative or the key word here, the buzzword or the zinger or the ticker or however you want to spin it. You would decide what's important to you. And if it's possible, I hope that you guys will join me later and we will have a spirited spirited guest on the panel. And either way, I would hope to see you guys there, or if you're enjoying it on your own, or if you're going to take it in from home with friends, or who knows, take it in from a podcast from your workplace. Your presence is always welcome here and appreciated here. Thank you so much for choosing Black Spring with Autumn. So I'll move right on here. So again, this is tonight's debate topics won't address what voters care about most. Now, this comes from Bob Adelman of the New American. So I'm going to get through this really quickly. There'll be some paraphrasing here. However, in her effort to protect Democratic Party presidential candidate Joe Biden from addressing the hard issues that voters care about most, the moderator of tonight's presidential debate, Kristen Welker, has instead provided a list of, quote, off-topic topics, end quote. They include COVID, American families, race relations, climate change, national security, and the most ephemeral topic of all, quote, leadership, end quote, while including, quote, climate change, end quote, which most voters aren't interested in. That's according to studies by Gallup, Pew, Kaiser, and Rasmussen. She neatly avoids those topics voters are interested in: the economy, law and order, and the Huntergate scandal. Huntergate. That's a nice spin on that. Hogan Gidley, the national press secretary for the Trump 2020 campaign, said, quote, all the issues voters care about are places where President Donald Trump has succeeded. Noticed that she and the committee took away the topic of foreign policy. Of course they would. President Trump has a record of success there too. He's already been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize multiple times because of his work in the Middle East. He got 2 peace deals. He's drawing down troops from our foreign wars, end quote. All right, so to continue on here, we have another statement from Samantha Zager here, Deputy National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign, said the president's strategy is largely to ignore Welker's topics and direct his attacks on where Biden is the most vulnerable and least forthright. Quote, everything from court packing to his lies about his family's corruption during his vice presidency, and quote, that corruption issue, according to the campaign's pollster, John McLaughlin, is, quote, the top negative for Joe Biden. That's coming from social media, word of mouth, and emails, end quote. And from a professor at California State University, Victor Davis Hanson, and a commentator on contemporary politics for the National Review, sees the race to the White House narrowing. Quote, if the trend continues at the current rate, President Trump could poll even in 2 weeks, with some polls that show him near there already, end quote. To keep his momentum, Trump should press the issue on the topics that Welker and Biden want to avoid: the scandal surrounding Hunter, his stated intentions to ban fracking, packing the cord, and his support for the Green New Deal. Now, according to Hansen, the advice Trump is receiving is sound, be aggressive, and firmly demonstrate to the American people that Biden cannot honestly answer questions about these topics, because to do so for him would either offend the left or the majority of the American people. Trump can run on his record, writes Hansen, quote, expanding the economy, stopping most illegal immigration, empowering minorities economically, making superb judicial appointments, confronting China, restoring the industrial heartland, and ending optional overseas interventions. Okay, so that's you're getting a little bit of perspective there from the Trump campaign and how he's being advised. I'm not sure in terms of. I hope they've done a bit of more work on either deflection or redirection, because otherwise we won't last 20 minutes if it's just all out bombs and Biden's taking cover. I excuse me for my digression, or my punchline that I added. Good morning. Shout out to you, Chrysler Imperial H. Shout out to everyone in the stream. Thank you guys so much. So we are going to we will probably wrap this one up in about 15 minutes, but I just thought that we are counting down to this what I'm calling the debate bake, however you want to spin it. It's certainly going to be it's going to be one to journal. It's going to be one to hang on to. So with that said, I will finish that one up, and then we will go into we're gonna go into the moving forward, the ACB moving forward with the vote. We'll get right to that. So, in refuting the inevitable charge from Biden that Trump has mishandled his response to the COVID virus, Hansen says it's easy. Just remind the folks, quote, that 7 months of lockdown now are doing more cumulative damage to the health and lives of Americans than the virus, end quote. There are just two suggestions Hansen makes that could improve Trump's performance tonight. Recount his victories and successes using, quote, we instead of I. And when Biden waffles or Welker interrupts, he should respond with, there you go again, the phrase that catapulted Ronald Reagan into the White House in 1980 over Jimmy Carter. So we'll see. The strategy, it's got a little sizzle to it, a little sting. So we'll see. And finally here, Hansen suggests that Trump could conclude his final remarks with this: whatever your politics, join me in restoring our institutions. Americans left or right, Republican or Democrat, cannot remain free if our traditional or social media are not independent and fair. None of us will have a future if our elite collude with China to further its interest over ours. Without the police, none of us are safe in the inner city or the suburbs. And we all want Washington officials to serve Americans and not waste our precious resources trying to destroy them. Don't help Joe Biden make America into something it never was and must never be. So that's interesting enough. What do you say? I think that's how's that for strategy, or how's that for how's that for that's just, it's a little sketch. It's a little bit of a scan. So, but I think that's something nice to wet your whistle or get you going, a little appetizer or whatever. So we'll see if we'll keep that. We may keep those points on the loop on our pre-debate hosting today. We may see if he stays true to that form and to those recommendations. We'll see. But the bomb dropping and knowing the targets and the other tactics are what I would be concerned about, because if you go full on rambunctious and lose control, then it's more difficult to reel it back in. Like, it's what do they say? It's like it's got to put the finger in the dam. Once it goes, it's it's gone. So we'll see what happens there, or I don't know. We'll see. So, and for our last bite on this news flight, these are news flights rather than flashes, is what I would refer to these as. We're going to have a quick look at we'll take our second lead from the Gateway Pundit. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Hope you guys are doing well. And that speaks to the Senate Judiciary Committee confirming Amy Coney Barrett for the Supreme Court, and Democrats boycott the committee vote. So I will be bringing that before you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this news flight with Black Spring with Autumn. What a season, right? What a cycle. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to the loyal patrons. Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, Let the Truth Be Told, AZ Infidel, and Cold War Jesus. So for our final flight here, final phase of our flight, we will take this story, which is written by Jim Hoft. We'll take this perspective from him. It's published today. So here you see pictured a little bit of Amy Coney Barrett and her family at the White House. So here we go. We have that vote. And if you guys didn't watch it this morning, you do indeed. You had a Senate Judiciary Committee vote 12-0 to confirm Judge Amy Coney Barrett for the Supreme Court on Thursday morning. The Democrat members on the committee boycotted the vote. And of course, I will say, after witnessing that, you had Durbin, you had your usual suspects, those that, and Feinstein that grilled the most. And so this is a little bit of looks like a tweet. Senate Judiciary Committee Democrats boycott the committee vote on #ACB. All right, so I'll give you a little bit of that, and then we'll move right through. And I hope to see you guys around later. I'll have a special panel on this evening's debate. Fingers crossed that all goes well. Hope you guys are doing well.
Law is written to the Constitution or a statute or whatever regulatory body she's going to review. She will take her job on without agenda. But important to me is this okay to be a complete person and be on the Supreme Court. It's okay to be pro-life.
Shout out to everybody in the stream. So it looks like you have a bit of a word of reassurance from committee chair Lindsey Graham, who basically is defending Amy Coney Barrett's right to her religion, and that once again, and for those liberals out there that are maybe listening, he's not mansplaining. This is clearly a part of what we consider the Constitution. I think it still has some life. I mean, I think it needs to be it needs a defibrillator right about now, and we'll see what happens. Shout out to you, Auctions for You. Thank you so much for coming in. And so we'll finish up with that. Thank you guys so much for coming into this segment. All right. So we have people tweeting about it, of course. And of course, we had the threats prior to this coming up about the RBG. If she was replaced, we already know that. We know that rhetoric. We know those threats. We know the propaganda. So I think we're going to pretty much wrap up on this. So your vote, you do have your vote now. And I do believe that is, I think the confirmation may be set for next week. We'll see what happens. We'll see what hand they are going to play on the left to try to subvert, or I don't know what other, as Nancy would say, as I paraphrase, what other arrows in the quiver may come up. So, of course, here you have earlier this week, Supreme Court Justice John Roberts joined the liberal members of the court to allow Pennsylvania to collect ballots 3 days after the election. In order to save the country from Roberts, the far left justices, Amy Coney Barrett, must be confirmed before Election Day. All right. So there you have your news flight. Get your news flight just before your debate comes in. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Thank you so much for all that you do. So, and I would tell you right away, I'm a little bit hesitant because I'm a little bit hesitant to bring a whole lot in from the Biden pile-on because, I mean, the Clinton pile-ons are still going on from last year. But for our final piece, we will have a bit of the 60 Minutes, a release of footage from 60 Minutes interview that President Trump walked out on. Now, this is coming from New York Post. I'm happy to share that with you. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Hope you guys have a great day planned, and we'll see you around, or you'll catch some of the debate later. So I'm going to share that with you, and we will close out. Thank you guys so much for all that you do. And I will have a bit of that soundbite for you from the New York Post and that 60 Minutes footage before the broadcast.
Are you ready for some tough questions?
You're gonna be fair.
I'm gonna be fair.
Just be fair.
But last time, I remember you saying to me, bring it on, bring it on.
No, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for fairness, that's all.
You're gonna get fairness. But you're okay with some tough questions.
No, I'm not.
You're not okay with tough
Well,
questions?
I'm gonna be fair. You don't ask Biden tough questions.
Me?
Huh?
I don't even.
It's terrible.
I
It's
only
terrible.
interview you.
You know that. Okay, are you ready?
Everybody ready?
We're out.
Okay. Can I start?
Let's go 1 second. Close the door. Hurry up and lift the little dog. Should be fine.
Am I okay?
Good.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm ready. So we have the pandemic. On your watch, we've had racial strife, we've had looting. Why do you want this job? Why do you want to be president again?
Because we've done a great job and it's not finished yet. And when I finish, this country will be in a position like it hasn't been maybe ever. The economy is already roaring back, and other people aren't going to bring it back. Certainly the person that we're dealing with is not going to bring it back. They're going to raise taxes. They're going to take away your Second Amendment. They're going to do things that nobody would even believe. It's radical. There's never been anything like it. No,
Let me
we
ask you,
we are positioned like never before. We're going to have a fantastic year next year.
let me ask you what you think your, the biggest domestic priority is for you right now.
Well,
Or next year.
ultimately, let me, and I'll tell you, it was happening. We created the greatest economy in the history of our country. And the other side
You
was
know that,
coming
you
in.
know that's not true.
It is totally true.
No,
Best unemployment numbers, best employment numbers, 160 million people working, highest stock market price. You wouldn't say that to Biden, what you just said to me. If he had it, you would never say that to Biden. We had the best stock market price ever, and we're getting close to that price again. We had the best, everything was the best. Our companies were doing better than they've ever done before. You cannot even think about talking about that.
well, I'm not gonna fact check you,
Well,
you
you
know.
don't have to
I'm
fact
not
check
gonna
me.
do that.
I mean, excuse me,
But-
the stock market was at its highest. The unemployment numbers for African Americans, for Asian Americans, for Hispanic Americans, for everybody were the best. Every number, virtually every number was the best. We had the best economy ever. And what was happening is things were coming
Well, I
together.
asked you what your single biggest
Well, no, what
priority was.
I'm going to say that.
Oh.
And the other side was starting to call, let's get together. There was going to be unity. And then we got hit with the plague, and we had to do it again. And we closed it up, and I saved millions of lives we saved. And now the economy is growing again at record numbers, 11.4 million people employed in the last short
But
period
what's
of
the
time.
priority? I mean, those are all the good things. What do
The
you want
priority
to
now
solve?
is to get back to normal, get back to where we were, to have the economy rage and be great with jobs and everybody be happy. And that's where we're going, and that's where we're heading.
And who is our biggest foreign adversary?
I would say China, they're an adversary, they're a competitor, they're a foe in many ways, but they're an adversary. I think what happened was disgraceful. Should never have happened. They should never have allowed this plague to get out of China and go throughout the world. 188 countries. Should never have happened.
So there, so
Leslie, 1 second, please.
What's wrong?
The flag is wobbling, I think, because it's under a vent perhaps behind you.
His hair's coming down a little bit.
It's gonna be getting it, right?
It doesn't look nice blowing.
No, it's distracting.
Hello?
I can see it.
Yes, from the arrow. I think we're better, guys.
I'm going with or without you
It's not
guys.
moving.
Let's go.
Okay, at this stage, 4 years ago, we were behind in the polls, you are now, and you pulled it out. But this time you have kind of a double migraine. You have unemployment claims going up. You have COVID cases going up. I mean, it's like the gods have suddenly decided to conspire against
I
you.
don't think so at all, no. I think
Well,
we've
what
done a great
about
job
this?
with COVID.
Yeah,
and
but
we've
the
hired-
numbers are going up.
Excuse me, 11.4 million people, why? Because the last report was just a little bit off. And this is
No.
without,
Sir, excuse me, cases are up in about 40 states.
okay, you know why cases are up also? Because we do more testing. If we didn't do testing, cases would be way down.
Yeah, but why are you saying they're not up? You know, Pete, you're saying things that people
No,
can
no, what I'm
see.
saying to you, Leslie, is the following. We do more testing than any country in the world by far. Second is India with 1.5 billion people. We do more testing. If we did half the testing, we'd have half the cases. If we did no testing, like many countries, we would have very few cases. Because we do so much testing, the fake news media loves to say cases are up. The fact is, we've done a very, very good job.
Cases are up.
We have done, that's right, because we're doing so much testing.
Cases, will you at least say cases are up?
Yes, cases are up because we are doing tremendous testing and we're finding where there's a problem. Testing is a good thing, but it's also very misleading.
When you're out there saying we've turned the corner, this thing is disappearing, and
That's right, we
people
have turned
can
the corner.
see,
We have turned the
people
corner.
can see cases going up all over in the Midwest, in the Mountain West.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Now, that is actually an interview that was actually cut short. And because it's a bit of it's more lengthy than I'm going to permit for this segment, I'm going to cut it there. And I hope that you guys will remain encouraged throughout the day and that maybe there's a chance that I will see you later today or you will be watching the debate at your own discretion. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of News Flight with Black Spring with Autumn. And look forward to seeing you guys on the next live stream, next flash stream, next video, or in the comment section, in replay, or even on Periscope. So I look forward to seeing you guys around even later today. Thank you so much for all that you do to support the channel, and have a great day.